Hi everyone, my name is Mike Davis and I'm a professor of UAS technology at our local college, and I'm also an FAA safety team representative. We've developed a 6-part series for public utilities. Module 1, which we've completed, is why use a drone. This module 2, is about setting up a drone program. And then, of course, in 3, we'll talk about tools for the drone program. 4 will be about actually conducting inspections, which is an interesting webinar. 5, we'll be talking about a maintenance program. And 6, we will wrap up and actually discuss the details behind a training program. So let's start with Module 2. That's where we're at, and we will continue our. When we consider the actual scope of a drone program, sometimes it can be quite daunting. But if we look at and break them down into sections and focus on sections, it actually helps your planning much better. So a scope could include a number of variety of components, which I've listed here, from fleet management to pilot management to compliance, which is an ongoing thing because regulations are changing, flight planning, data collection. So when flying a drone and the sensors, you want to make sure that there's safety. That's part of the safety program, but you're out there to collect data. Flight logging is really about that, as well as actually controlling and logging every flight. The data management and data engineering is really about processing, is taking the data and creating reports and analysis of what you're really trying to do. Continued with that, the management is to ensure that you're following company policies. So the complexity is scope can be broken down by components, which I highly recommend you doing, versus being a scattered approach. So if we actually look at what you'll need to start building a successful drone program, you really want to start with the upper management, or the executive sponsorship, as I call it. But what this is getting management buy-in. Without it, you will be just digging yourself a hole. So executive sponsorship or management buy-in on your program is very critical. With that, then you need to really focus about taking and creating your vision and goals. And we're going to be talking about this throughout this program, this webinar, a little bit more in detail. And then once you have that established, then you're going to develop a project plan. So you're really going to be a project manager in this, and you want to create it and look at it as a major project. Along the way, you'll analyze your existing tools and operations. You want to be very clearly to define what is the goals and the processes, the tools, and also personnel roles. With this, you'll need to create a foundation of an operations safety manual, and you'll start gathering your tools, which means your drones, your sensors, software applications. And more importantly, at the end, is to wrap this into a very good training program, not only for the pilots, but for all the staff. Strong executive sponsorship is critical to your success. You need them to make sure that they can go out into the community to get support. You can obtain the support through them for the required investments that's going to be needed. And you get them to give you the authority to modify operations within the scope of the drone operations. But clearly define the scope and get an agreement from the executives specifically on the vision and goals. You need the support. One of the first things is get your vision and goals established so everybody can be talking the same thing. Basically, look at it as an end state vision, or short-term, and establish measurable goals, such as inspect 10 miles of 230 kV line this year, or limit program startup to 40 or 50,000. But measurable goals are critical to their success. You will be acting like a project manager. So when you look at a project, what you'll need to do is ensure that you have brought your stakeholders in, you laid out your project objectives, you ensure the deliverables have clear ownership and clear due dates. You establish a project schedule, and along with that, the roles and responsibilities of each task is assigned, along with the project budget. And you set up a communication plan to ensure everybody is working with the same program and on the same track. And then, of course, tracking this and establishing management tools is critical. But as a project manager, you're going to be able to modify the plan as necessary just to keep it up to date. One of the first things I usually do is conduct an as-is assessment of the operations. But it's not just the operations, it's the tools and the policy and the company's or the organization goals. By identifying policies, you can then make sure that you're aligned with them. And you can determine how best to integrate those within those policies and ensuring the drone procedures are aligned with it. It gives you also a very good baseline. In addition to that, during the assessment period, you should assess the current state of the drone industry as it is, so you know some availabilities and approaches. When you define the work that needs to be done through the as-is assessment, you're going to see gaps, and you're going to find out to determine what processes are needed to be changed or modified or even created from new. What tools are required? Do you have them? And if you don't, how to get them? And some of the tools you may no longer need. But the point is that you need to define which tools or records are needed to be integrated. Utilizing best practices through this process is critical. This is where you're going to plan for future operation in detail. And also, you're going to need to meet public expectations along with the FAA's. Use experts to help define what the best practices really are. And use experts into helping you define the fast, rapid drone industry. You integrate these processes with existing workflow. More or less, you're not trying to make over everything brand new. It's how you integrate your drone processes, especially around safety and compliance. Integrates the tools, more or less. If you're established with the mission results with GIS and using the same work orders, you're trying to integrate into existing tool sets. Operations and safety manuals are critical for long-term stability. This is where you establish your mission and just general information, but also it's where you describe the program and where you lay out the safety management system. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. It will establish your workflow, your operation requirements, what are your emergency procedures, and define those. Sometimes when you develop a training program, you may outline it in an ops manual, but there will be a detail on how do people meet mission ready status, etc. in a training manual. But it also lays out the forms, checklists, assessments, and any other documents that you're going to need within your operation. The safety management system really needs to include the policy and, of course, risk management, safety assurance, and how you're going to promote that, how you're going to train for it. It's really going to standardize the methods of considering risk for all UAS flights. Training program standardizes the crew training program, and it standardizes the flight evaluation procedures. This creates a known methodology of how you're going to evaluate, what people are going to do, and how you're going to grade them. And it provides the guidelines for their trainers to execute, and it establishes the qualifications to ensure that people are mission ready for that task. and establishes that evaluation. Team training is another very important, where you get involved in communication and put out tasks. Risk management and flight risk assessment tools, or FRAT, are critical to integrate within this program. Some of the areas on when you direct your training, we recommend using the NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is a department of U.S. Commerce. They have developed over the years the standardization to really evaluate remote pilot proficiencies. And this allows training measures that you can incorporate within your training manual and establishes that baseline. Through the process of using NIST, flight evaluations can really allow that manager to determine the proficiency and establish mission level statuses. The NIST standardizations allows a variety of test programs for a multitude of organizations. So the familiarity is there by using NIST. You're not trying to create your own, you're using an established process, established apparatuses to test and to help train pilots for mission ready. NIST has defined the necessary forms. You don't have to worry about forms anymore to keep record keeping on pilots. And the objective of the training program is really to sustain proficiency and readiness with your pilots. Now, in the next webinar, we'll be discussing automated flight and post-processing, mission planning, resource allocations. So I'm going to be jumping over this, but we will be catching this up into the next webinar. Technology really has advanced, and I am sure that by the time this webinar comes out, there's going to be more advancements. So it's really critical to stay in contact with how the progression is going with technology. You'll find that efficiency is gaining. It's going to be lower cost or lighter in weight, and they're highly effective. So you can take a look at types of sensors depending upon the type of work that you want to perform. Thermal, miniature radar, they have ground penetrating radar now, and of course multispectral cameras are becoming lower in cost, and they're even experimenting with laser-induced spectroscopy. Utilization of drones really have brought a multitude of innovations, from capturing data, from dropping supplies, to float planes, to carrying insecticides and sprays. And it's just another aspect of trying to stay ahead of the technology to know what's available for you. So in summary, you just don't want to go out and buy a drone and start flying. Capturing images and data with drones can be really a game changer for your organization. But it's not your core business just to buy a drone, and you may be struggling to achieve that promised value. So don't rely on amateur advice. You'll need to demonstrate to the public and to the customers that your drone program is really safe, professional, and efficient. So don't start from zero. Use a draft operations safety manual, utilizing best practices. They are out there, they are available. Choose tools and data management practices that match your goals, your organization goals, to ensure you get the value from your program. And stay current with the rapidly evolving FAA requirements and even NIST requirements. So I thank you for staying with us to look at Module 2. By looking ahead, we'll be coming out with Module 3. You can see more information on the FAA.gov website as well as mine, and I look forward to seeing you again.